I never imagined my daughter's sweet 16 would become the biggest controversy of my life. You think you know your child until one careless joke at a Sunday brunch tears everything apart. Have you ever felt your entire identity challenged by someone you love deeply? Well, that's exactly what happened to me, and the fallout was messier than I ever expected. Ever since my divorce from Ethan 10 years ago, I worked overtime trying to make life feel normal for our daughter Ava. She was only 5 when her dad walked out, and explaining to a kindergartner that her daddy chose someone else over her mother was the hardest conversation I've ever had. But I swallowed my pride, hid my tears behind smiles, and focused entirely on being the steady, loving parent Ava deserved. I wanted her to feel safe, stable, and always cherished. While Ethan moved on quickly, marrying Danielle, the woman he'd betrayed me with, I took things slow, pouring all my energy into Ava's well-being. Between doctor visits, parent-teacher conferences, dance recitals, and soccer games, my life revolved entirely around Ava. I wasn't bitter. At least, I tried not to be. After all, what good would it do to poison Ava against her father? She loved him, even if he only showed up once a month, arms loaded with expensive gifts and promises of adventure. To her, Ethan was the fun, exciting Disneyland dad. Meanwhile, I was the predictable, strict mom who had rules and curfews. Sometimes I wondered, why did I have to be the boring parent, the one setting boundaries and drying tears, while Ethan got all the credit for being carefree and generous? Still, when Ava started talking about her upcoming Sweet 16, I knew this was my chance to finally show her just how deeply I cared. I imagined throwing her the perfect party, something she'd always remember, something her dad and Danielle could never compete with. Secretly, perhaps selfishly, I wanted to remind Ava that I'd always been there for her. I was determined to give her a celebration worthy of all the love and sacrifice I'd poured into our little family. Weeks of meticulous planning followed. I booked the elegant Riverside Manor, hired Ava's favorite DJ, and chose a stunning designer dress that matched Ava's glowing personality. Ava's excitement grew daily, bubbling over whenever she chatted with her friends or posted on social media. I felt a quiet pride as I saw her happiness, a brief reassurance that maybe I had done something right. But beneath my excitement was a nagging feeling. Could a lavish party ever truly bridge the emotional distance growing between Ava and me? Then came Ethan and Danielle's invitation to their Sunday brunch. Initially, I hesitated. Sitting at a table surrounded by Ethan's family felt uncomfortable, even humiliating. But Ava pleaded with me, insisting it would mean so much if I could just be there for her. Against my better judgment, I agreed. As we sat at Ethan's extravagant dining table, Ava laughed easily, glowing under the attention. Danielle's cooking was praised, Ethan's charm sparkled, and for a moment, I felt invisible, completely out of place. The laughter felt forced in my throat. The pleasantries were exhausting. Suddenly, one of Ethan's relatives joked about how much Ava resembled her father. Without missing a beat, Ava laughed and replied casually, "Yeah, I guess I got lucky, especially since she's not even my real mom," gesturing lightly in my direction. The room erupted in laughter. Ethan, Danielle, even Ava's grandparents joined in. In that moment, time slowed, and an ache formed deep inside my chest. How could my own daughter say something so hurtful? And why did she think that humiliating me was funny? I blinked back tears, my throat tightening with embarrassment. My eyes locked briefly with Ava's, but she seemed oblivious to my pain, still caught up in everyone else's amusement. As laughter echoed around me, I knew something had just shattered, something I might never be able to piece back together. How do you recover when the person you've loved most openly denies you in front of those who've hurt you the deepest? The car ride home that afternoon was quiet, too quiet. Ava scrolled through her phone in the passenger seat like nothing had happened. I kept my eyes on the road, my knuckles white around the steering wheel. I was still replaying her words in my head. "She's not even my real mom." That one sentence had unraveled everything I thought we'd built. I didn't say anything right away. I needed time to process not just the embarrassment, but the deep ache that settled in my chest like a weight I couldn't shake. It wasn't just a joke, not to me, it was a betrayal. How could she so easily dismiss everything I'd done, everything I'd given, with one careless, cruel remark? Later that evening, once we were both home and Ava had disappeared into her room, I knocked gently on her door. Can we talk? I asked. She barely looked up from her phone. What's up? What you said today. At brunch, I began, trying to keep my voice calm even though I felt anything but. Why would you say that in front of everyone? She rolled her eyes and scoffed. Oh my God, Mom, it was just a joke. Everyone laughed. You're being super dramatic right now. Do you have any idea how hurtful that was? I asked. You made it sound like I'm nothing to you, like I haven't raised you, loved you, sacrificed for you. I've been your mom every day for the past 10 years. That wasn't just a joke, Ava. That was cruel. She sighed and threw her phone down. You always take things so seriously. It's not that deep. I didn't mean anything by it. Then why say it? I asked, my voice cracking despite my effort to stay strong. Why did you feel the need to humiliate me in front of people who have done nothing but disrespect me since the day your dad left? Ava crossed her arms. Because it was funny. I was just trying to lighten the mood. You need to stop being so sensitive. That was the moment I realized something had shifted between us. Something that couldn't be fixed with a grounding or a stern lecture. This wasn't just about a joke. This was about respect, or the lack of it. She didn't see me as the person who held her hand when she was sick, who stayed up all night helping with school projects, who worked double shifts to afford ballet lessons and braces. She didn't see the woman who stood by her when her dad forgot birthdays or canceled visits. She just saw someone she could dismiss with a punchline. So I took a breath, and with as much control as I could muster, I said, all right, if I'm not really your mom, then I guess I won't be needing to throw you that sweet 16 party. She blinked, confused. Wait, what? I'm canceling everything. The venue, the DJ, the dress, done. If I'm just a placeholder in your life, then maybe your real parents can throw you a party instead. At first, she laughed. You're bluffing. There's no way you're actually going to cancel it. But I was already walking out of her room, and as I shut the door behind me, I felt a strange calm settle over me. Not out of spite, but out of clarity. How do you continue to give your all to someone who doesn't even see you? What happens when love, even the most selfless kind, is returned with apathy? When do you draw the line between unconditional love and self-respect? The next morning, I started making the calls. One by one, I canceled every part of the party I'd spent months organizing. The venue manager was sympathetic, but I could hear the disappointment in her voice when she mentioned the non-refundable deposit. The DJ tried to convince me to keep the date open, just in case. The photographer, a friend of mine, paused before saying, "You sure about this?" I was, painfully sure. Each call was a little like letting go of a piece of a dream. Not just Ava's dream, but mine too. I had imagined seeing her walk into that room, dressed in her gown, glowing with joy. I'd imagined the smile on her face when she blew out her candles, when her friends cheered, when the lights dimmed and she danced to her favorite song. And maybe selfishly, I imagined she'd look at me and think, my mom made this happen. She loves me that much. But that version of the night no longer felt real, because in Ava's world, I wasn't even really her mom. The backlash didn't take long. By Tuesday, I had a voicemail from Ethan, his voice laced with irritation. Are you seriously canceling Ava's Sweet 16 over a dumb joke? This is ridiculous. You're being bitter, and frankly, you're making it about you. Making it about me? I wanted to scream. Had anyone asked what it felt like to be mocked by your own child in front of your ex-husband and the woman he left you for? Did anyone think for a second about the 10 years I spent carrying the weight he dropped the moment he walked away? Danielle followed up with a direct message, her words sharp and polished. I know parenting is hard, but don't you think you're emotionally punishing Ava over something she didn't mean? This isn't about you. It's about her milestone. Her milestone. That one really cut deep, because who do you think made that milestone even possible? Even my sister, who usually has my back, chimed in. I know you're hurt, but canceling the party feels extreme. Maybe ground her, take her phone, something less nuclear. But here's the thing. They didn't see the look in Ava's eyes when she said it. They didn't feel the room freeze around me or the heat rising in my chest while everyone else laughed. They didn't see the flicker of satisfaction on Danielle's face. Maybe that's what hurt most. Ava's joke didn't just diminish me. It validated the people who had disrespected me for years. Later that night, Ava came into the kitchen. Her tone was casual, like nothing had happened. So, when are we going to pick up the dress? Madison wants to come. I didn't look up from the dishes. We're not. Her smile faltered. Wait, what do you mean? You were serious? I told you I was. The party's off. Oh, her eyes widened. Mom, come on. I didn't mean it. It was just a joke. Everyone knew that. No, Ava, I said softly, turning to face her. You knew exactly what you were saying, and you said it in front of the people who've spent years tearing me down. You made me the punchline of your joke, and I can't celebrate someone who treats me that way. Not right now. She stared at me, stunned. You're ruining everything. Maybe I was. Or maybe I was just setting a boundary I should have drawn years ago. How do you raise a child with love and structure, only to realize too late they've taken your presence for granted? What happens when the lesson they need is the one that hurts the most? The silence between Ava and me stretched for days. She sulked around the house like a storm cloud, slamming doors and offering cold, one-word answers whenever I spoke. Meals were eaten in silence, and her bedroom door stayed shut more than it ever had. I'd hear her laughing on FaceTime with friends, then crying quietly when she thought I wasn't near. But I didn't chase her, not this time. As a mother, your instinct is always to fix things, to soothe the hurt even when it's not your own. But this time I stayed still, not because I didn't love her, but because I did, deeply, enough to let her feel the weight of her actions. And maybe I needed the space too, because underneath the pain was a deeper fear. What if this was just the beginning? What if Ava was slipping into that place where respect becomes optional and love is assumed rather than expressed? Was I losing her? Ethan texted again. This time it was a guilt trip wrapped in condescension. Ava's heartbroken. You're her mother. Act like it. I stared at the screen for a long time before replying, she broke mine first. He didn't respond. Funny how they all expected me to take the high road every single time, as if I had an endless supply of grace to hand out no matter how often I was dismissed, overlooked, or disrespected. But what about me? What about the mother who stayed, who worked overtime, skipped vacations, and sat through every tear-filled night because she was the only one who would? Where was the road for her? On the fifth night, I heard a knock on my bedroom door. I hesitated. Come in, I said finally. Ava stepped in slowly, eyes red-rimmed, voice softer than I'd heard it in days. Can we talk? I nodded, bracing myself. She sat on the edge of the bed, playing with the hem of her hoodie. I've been thinking a lot, she started, about what I said, about how I acted. I stayed quiet, letting her fill the space. It wasn't just a joke, she admitted. Not really. I was trying to be funny, yeah, but I also wanted to fit in. Dad and Danielle make me feel like I have to pick a side sometimes, even if they don't say it, and I guess part of me wanted to impress them. That hit me like a punch to the gut, because I'd spent years protecting her from the war between us. I thought I'd done a good job, but had I? I didn't mean to hurt you, she whispered, tears sliding down her cheeks now. You've always been my mom. I mean, you are my mom, the real one, and I'm so sorry I made you feel like you weren't. I reached out, my hand resting over hers. Her fingers clutched mine like she was 5 again, afraid of the dark. I needed to hear that, I said quietly. But Ava, words matter. The way you treat the people who love you, it matters. We saw she nodded, wiping her face. I know, I really messed up. I don't care about the party anymore. I don't want to lose you. The ache in my chest loosened, just a little. There was still healing to be done. Trust to rebuild. But for the first time in days, I felt a flicker of hope. When did we start believing that love comes without consequences? And how do we teach our children the weight of their words, without letting it break them entirely? The next morning, Ava sat at the kitchen table waiting for me. No phone, no earbuds, just her, eyes puffy from sleep and apology still fresh on her face. There was something different in the air. Not everything was fixed, not by a long shot, but the wall between us had cracks in it now, enough light to peek through. She looked up as I poured my coffee. Can we talk more? I nodded, sitting across from her, hands wrapped around the mug like it was the only thing grounding me. Ava took a breath, fidgeted with the edge of a napkin and said, I want to make things right. I don't want a new party or a redo. I just want us to be okay again. There was a lump in my throat that I didn't expect. Hearing her say that, it was everything and yet not enough. Because forgiveness isn't a switch you flip. It's a slow burn, a gradual process. Still, the fact that she wanted to try meant more than any party ever could. I believe you, I told her softly. But this has to be a turning point. Respect isn't optional, Ava. Not in this house. Not in our relationship. She nodded quickly, eyes glistening again. I know, and I don't want to ever make you feel like that again. We sat in silence for a while, not awkwardly, just peacefully, like two people recovering from a storm, still damp, still shaken, but alive. Later that week, Ava did something that caught me completely off guard. She handed me an envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter. 3 pages of heartfelt reflection, memories, and apologies. She wrote about the nights I stayed up with her during stomach flu, the way I packed notes in her lunchboxes when she was younger, and how even though she never said it, she always noticed how much I did for her. I cried reading it. Ugly cried. Have you ever been so hurt by someone you love that you forgot how it felt to be truly seen by them? And then, out of nowhere, they hand you a mirror showing every quiet sacrifice, every silent act of love you thought had gone unnoticed. In the end, there was no Sweet 16 party. There were no balloon arches or sparkly dresses or loud music echoing through a rented venue. But instead, on Ava's birthday, we spent the day together, just the two of us. She asked me to take her to the same lake we used to visit when she was little. We brought sandwiches, sat on a blanket under the trees and talked, really talked, for hours. She didn't check her phone once. Maybe that's what healing looks like. Not grand gestures or glittering events, but quiet moments of reconnection when both hearts decide to meet in the middle. I still get the occasional side eye from Ethan and Danielle. My sister still thinks I could have handled things less dramatically. And that's all I ever wanted to be. What would you have done if your child, someone you raised with love, sacrifice, and unwavering devotion, suddenly dismissed you in front of those who hurt you most? Would you have canceled the party too, or handled it differently? I truly want to hear your thoughts. If this story touched you, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It shows the main character she's not alone, that her pain is seen and her strength is understood. Sometimes the quietest heartbreaks need the loudest support. So what would your heart do in her shoes? Let us know in the comments.